They don't want you to know what Enoch saw. For thousands of years, religious institutions have worked to keep his testimony locked away, hidden in fragments, dismissed as myth. But there's a reason the Book of Enoch was removed from your Bible. There's a reason only one verse remains in mainstream scripture. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. That single line hides the most important story in human history. Because Enoch didn't die. He was taken while still alive, pulled through dimensions that shouldn't exist, shown secrets that were never meant for human eyes, and when he returned, he wrote it all down. Every realm, every being, every truth about what lies beyond the veil of this reality. What he witnessed changes everything you think you know about life, death, and your place in the universe. This isn't just ancient history. This is a map, a warning, a promise. And if you're reading this, you're being called to see what Enoch saw, to understand what he understood, to wake up to the reality that's been hidden from you since birth. The story begins long before the angels descended, long before the Watchers fell, long before the flood washed away the first age of humanity. It begins with a man who refused to accept the world as it appeared, a man who looked past the surface and saw the machinery beneath, a man who walked differently than everyone around him. Enoch was the 7th generation from Adam, a detail that matters more than you realize. In ancient numerology, 7 represents completion, perfection, divine order. Enoch wasn't chosen randomly. He was positioned exactly where he needed to be, at exactly the right moment in cosmic history. While others built empires and chased power, Enoch kept records. He watched, he documented, he paid attention to patterns no one else noticed. This is where his story becomes yours. Because Enoch's greatest gift wasn't his righteousness or his wisdom, it was his awareness. He lived in the same world as everyone else, saw the same sky, walked the same earth. But he noticed things, he questioned things, he refused to sleepwalk through existence like the masses around him. The ancient texts tell us he lived 365 years, the same number of days in a solar year. This wasn't coincidence, it was cosmic synchronization. Enoch had tuned his entire life to divine frequencies. While others measured their lives in possessions and accomplishments, Enoch measured his. In steps walked with the source of all creation. And that changed everything. The world around him was falling apart. The Watchers had descended, fallen angels who left their assigned posts and took human women as wives. They taught humanity forbidden knowledge. Weapons of war, cosmetics and seduction, astrology and divination, the cutting of roots and herbs for both healing and harm. The Nephilim walked the earth, giant hybrid beings born from this unholy union. Violence exploded across the land. Corruption became the norm. The very fabric of creation was tearing, and Enoch saw it all. He documented the names of the fallen angels, their crimes, their corruption of humanity. He became the witness, the scribe, the keeper of truths too dangerous for most minds to handle. This is why the angels came for him. Not because he was perfect, but because he was prepared. Not because he earned it, but because he had made himself ready. The visitation happened without warning, as these things always do. 2 angels appeared before him, beings of such radiant intensity that most humans would have died from the shock. Their faces shone like the sun, their garments gleamed like lightning. They spoke without speaking, their words bypassing ears and going straight to the soul. They told Enoch he had been summoned. God himself wanted Enoch to see what no living human had ever witnessed. But there was a problem. No human could survive what they were about to show him. The physical body couldn't withstand the frequencies of higher dimensions. The mind couldn't process realities it wasn't built to comprehend. So Enoch had to be changed, transformed, rebuilt from the inside out. The texts describe this preparation in ways that sound like modern accounts of consciousness expansion. Enoch's body became lighter, less dense. His perception widened beyond the five senses. His awareness stretched across space and time. He could see things as they truly were, not as they appeared. The veil between worlds became transparent. He was no longer just a man. He was becoming something else, something more. This is the truth they don't tell you in Sunday school. Spiritual evolution isn't gentle. It isn't comfortable. It requires destruction before reconstruction. You have to die to who you were before you can become who you're meant to be. Enoch had to shed his human limitations like old skin before he could step into the heavens. And then the Ascension began. The first heaven opened before him like a door in the sky. But this wasn't space as we understand it. This was a layer of reality that exists right here, right now, overlapping with the world you see, but operating on a different frequency. The ancient texts call it the atmospheric heaven, the realm where weather is born and controlled. What Enoch saw there shattered his understanding of nature. The storms you think are random, they're directed by angelic beings assigned to specific regions and seasons. The rain, the wind, the snow, the thunder, all of it is orchestrated. He saw vast storehouses where snow is kept, chambers where hail waits to be released, treasuries of wind held back until their appointed time. These weren't metaphors. Enoch described massive crystalline structures, organized with military precision, managed by angels whose sole purpose was maintaining the atmospheric balance of Earth. He saw the angels of the stars, beings assigned to guide celestial bodies through their courses. He learned that the cosmos isn't random chaos, but choreographed order, every movement calculated, every pattern intentional. The waters above the firmament, the ancient concept that scientists mock today, Enoch saw them. Vast oceans suspended in space, held in place by forces we still don't understand. The boundary between physical reality and spiritual reality, maintained by divine command. This realm taught him something critical. What you call nature is supernatural. The natural world is actually carefully maintained by unseen intelligences. Nothing happens by accident. But the first heaven was just the introduction. What came next changed everything. The second heaven opened, and Enoch felt the temperature drop. The light dimmed. The atmosphere became heavy with dread. This was a prison, a holding cell for beings that once held immense power but had lost everything through rebellion. The fallen watchers, the angels who abandoned their posts, who took human women, who corrupted the bloodline of humanity. Enoch found them here, bound in chains of darkness, held in a place between dimensions, neither fully spiritual nor fully physical. Their punishment hadn't fully come yet, but they were being held until the day of judgment. What Enoch witnessed here was terrifying. These beings, once glorious and powerful, had been reduced to shadows. They cried out when they saw him, begging for mercy, pleading for intercession. They wanted Enoch to petition God on their behalf. They claimed they didn't know the full consequences of their actions. They insisted their punishment was too severe. But Enoch saw through their lies. He saw how they had deliberately corrupted humanity, how they had taught violence and seduction, how they had mixed the sacred with the profane. The Nephilim weren't an accident. They were a strategic attack on the human bloodline, an attempt to contaminate the DNA that would one day produce the Messiah. This was spiritual warfare at the highest level, and these beings had known exactly what they were doing. The atmosphere in this place was suffocating. These fallen angels generated waves of rage, bitterness, and deception that pulsed through the darkness. Enoch learned something crucial here. Evil isn't just wrong action, it's wrong being. These entities had become twisted versions of their original design, and now they existed in a state of eternal corruption. But there was something else Enoch noticed. The punishment wasn't arbitrary cruelty. It was necessary isolation. These beings had proven they would corrupt anything they touched. Keeping them imprisoned wasn't revenge. It was protection for the rest of creation. And one day, when their final judgment came, they would face annihilation, complete erasure, not eternal torture, but eternal extinction. This second heaven taught Enoch about cosmic justice, about consequences that can't be avoided, about how choices made in moments of pride echo through eternity, and it prepared him for what he was about to see. Next, the third heaven opened like a sunrise after endless night. Everything changed. The oppressive darkness gave way to light so pure it made the physical sun look dim. The air filled with music that wasn't quite sound, a harmony that resonated at the level of the soul. Enoch had entered paradise. This wasn't heaven as most people imagine it. This was a holding place, a garden that existed between death and final resurrection, and at its center stood the tree of life, still guarded after all these centuries by cherubim with flaming swords. The same tree that Adam and Eve had been barred from after the fall. Still there, still alive, still waiting. Enoch walked through gardens that made Eden look like a practice sketch. Rivers flowed with substances that weren't quite liquid. Some texts described them as milk, honey, oil, and wine. But these were just attempts to describe energies that didn't have earthly equivalents. These rivers weren't for drinking. They were frequencies, different types of divine nourishment that sustained the souls who waited here. And there were souls, righteous people who had died but hadn't yet received their final resurrection bodies. They existed in a state of peace, aware of their surroundings, conscious and alert, but not yet fully transformed. They knew what was coming. They knew this garden was temporary, but they also knew it was safe. Enoch learned something critical here. Death isn't what you've been told. The soul doesn't sleep. It doesn't cease to exist. It moves to a different location, a different level of reality. These souls were more alive than most people walking the earth, more aware, more conscious. They had shed the limitations of the physical body and were experiencing existence in its purer form. The tree of life stood as a promise. One day, these souls would be reunited with perfected bodies. One day, they would eat from that tree again. One day, the curse would be lifted and humanity would return to its original design. The tree hadn't been destroyed. It had been protected, saved for a future moment when everything would be restored. This third heaven taught Enoch about hope, about waiting, about the patience of God to complete what he started. And it prepared him to understand the mechanics of time itself. The fourth heaven opened before him, and Enoch entered a realm where time became visible. This wasn't a place of past, present, and future as we experience them. This was the machinery of Chronos, the mechanical clock that governs physical reality. The sun and moon weren't dead rocks reflecting light. They were living beings, angelic entities clothed in fire and radiance, following precise paths through cosmic gates. Enoch counted 12 gates, portals through which the sun moved to create the seasons. He watched as the moon followed its own course, regulated by angels assigned specifically to lunar cycles. Here's where it gets interesting. Enoch was shown the true calendar, the divine system of timekeeping that humanity has lost. 364 days in a year, 52 perfect weeks, 4 seasons of exactly 13 weeks each. A calendar so precise that it never needs adjustment, never requires leap years, never drifts out of sync with celestial movements. This isn't the calendar you use today. Your Gregorian calendar, with its uneven months and arbitrary leap years, is a corruption. The true calendar was revealed to Enoch, and it was used by ancient Israel until it was deliberately suppressed. Why? Because whoever controls the calendar controls time itself. Whoever controls time controls prophecy. Whoever controls prophecy controls religion. The fourth heaven taught Enoch that time is a structure, not a flow. It's built, maintained, organized. The movements of the sun, moon, and stars aren't random. They're choreographed with such precision that every prophetic event is time-stamped to the exact day. Nothing happens by accident. Every moment is calculated. This knowledge changed how Enoch saw his own life. He understood that his 365 years weren't arbitrary. He had been living a solar year, a full cycle, a complete revolution. His life was synchronized with cosmic patterns. And now, having seen the fourth heaven, he understood why. But his journey was only half complete. 3 more heavens waited. 3 more revelations that would change everything. The fifth heaven opened, and Enoch entered a war room. This realm was filled with the Grigori, a specific class of angelic beings tasked with watching over humanity. But unlike their fallen brothers imprisoned in the second heaven, these watchers had remained faithful to their posts. And what Enoch witnessed here was heartbreaking. These angels were in mourning. They wept constantly for their fallen companions, for the angels who had rebelled and corrupted themselves. The grief was total, absolute, unending. They carried the weight of their brothers' choices like physical burdens. They knew what those fallen angels had once been. They remembered their glory, their power, their beauty. And now they could see what they had become. But there was no time for extended grief. These angels were soldiers. The fifth heaven functioned as a military headquarters, a command center for ongoing spiritual warfare. Enoch saw angels being deployed to Earth, warriors sent to battle demons and protect humanity. He saw the hierarchy, the chain of command, the strategic planning. This wasn't theoretical spirituality. This was active combat. The scale of the angelic host defied comprehension. Thousands upon thousands, myriads upon myriads, more angels than stars in the sky. Each one had a specific role, a particular assignment, a unique capability. Some were messengers, some were warriors, some were guardians, some were executioners. All of them operated with military precision. Enoch learned something crucial here. The spiritual realm isn't separate from physical reality. It's happening right now, all around you, at frequencies your physical senses can't detect. Battles are being fought over your life, over your family, over your city. Angels and demons wage war constantly, and you're the territory they're fighting over. Most people go through life completely unaware of this conflict. They think their struggles are purely psychological or circumstantial. They don't realize there are invisible forces working to destroy them and invisible forces working to protect them. Enoch saw both sides. He saw how prayer activates angelic intervention. He saw how sin opens doors to demonic influence. He saw the mechanisms of spiritual warfare laid bare. The fifth heaven taught him that nothing is as it seems. Every choice you make has consequences that ripple through invisible dimensions. Every thought you think attracts or repels spiritual entities. Every word you speak carries power you don't understand. The war is real, the stakes are absolute, and you're in the middle of it whether you realize it or not. But there was still more to see. 2 more heavens, 2 more revelations that would complete the picture. The sixth heaven opened, and Enoch entered the archives. This realm was a library beyond imagination. Endless shelves, infinite records, countless volumes documenting everything that had ever happened or would ever happen. Angels moved through this space with purposeful efficiency, recording angels tasked with documenting every human action from birth to death. Every word you've ever spoken is written here. Every deed you've ever done is recorded. Every thought you've ever had is documented, not to shame you, not to condemn you, but because the universe operates on a principle of total accountability. Nothing is hidden, nothing is forgotten. Everything matters. Enoch saw his own book, the record of his life up to that moment. He saw the books of others, some thick with sin, some shining with righteousness, most somewhere in between. He saw how prayers were filed, how petitions were organized, how every cry for help was logged and processed. But this wasn't just a record of human activity. This was also the storage place of cosmic knowledge. The sixth heaven housed the mysteries of creation, the blueprints of reality, the mathematical formulas that govern existence. Angels studied here, learning the movements of planets and stars, understanding weather patterns and geological cycles. This was the University of the Cosmos. Enoch saw books about the future, records of events that hadn't happened yet. The fate of nations was written here. The rise and fall of empires was documented. The timeline of human history was mapped out in detail, not because the future is fixed, but because the patterns are predictable. Choices lead to consequences. Actions produce reactions. The angels could read the trajectory of civilizations the way you might read a weather forecast. The sixth heaven taught Enoch that nothing escapes divine observation. You live your life thinking your secrets are safe. Your private thoughts are private. Your hidden actions are hidden. But they're not. Everything is seen. Everything is known. Everything is recorded. Not by a tyrant trying to catch you in mistakes, but by a universe that operates on perfect justice, where accounts must eventually balance, where truth must eventually come to light. This should terrify you, but it should also comfort you. Because if every action is recorded, then every act of kindness matters. Every moment of integrity counts. Every sacrifice is seen. Nothing you've done in secret service to truth and goodness is wasted. It's all written down. It all matters. It all accumulates toward your final account. But Enoch's vision wasn't complete. One more heaven remained. The highest realm. The throne room, the place where everything else originated and to which everything would return. And what he saw there changed him forever. The seventh heaven opened, and Enoch stepped into the presence of God. There are no words for this, no language adequate to capture what Enoch witnessed. The texts strain against the limits of human vocabulary, trying to describe the indescribable, trying to capture infinity in finite terms. But we can see fragments, glimpses, shadows of what he experienced. The approach itself was overwhelming. The closer Enoch came to the divine presence, the more he had to be changed just to survive. His body transformed multiple times, each iteration allowing him to withstand greater levels of glory. What had seemed like the pinnacle of existence in the sixth heaven was just the outer darkness compared to what waited in the seventh. The cherubim surrounded the throne, beings with multiple faces and countless wings, creatures of such terrifying beauty that to see them properly would shatter an unprepared mind. The seraphim sang without ceasing, six-winged beings of pure fire who cried out, "Holy, holy, holy," in harmonies that shaped reality itself. The Ophanim, the wheels within wheels described in Ezekiel's vision, spun through dimensions, their rims full of eyes, their movements creating the very structure of time and space. A crystalline sea stretched before the throne, clear as glass, yet burning like fire. 24 elders sat in a circle, beings of such ancient power and wisdom that they had witnessed creation itself. And beyond them, in numbers beyond counting, angelic hosts filled the realm, myriads upon myriads, more beings than atoms in the universe, all focused on the throne, all reflecting the glory that emanated from the center. And at the center, on the throne, sat the Ancient of Days. Enoch saw him, not metaphorically, not in a vision within a vision. He saw the face of God and lived. The texts say his appearance was like white wool, his clothing brilliant as snow, flames of fire beneath his feet, rivers of light flowing from his presence. But these descriptions barely scratch the surface. What Enoch experienced was the concentrated source of all existence, all consciousness, all power, all truth, all love, all judgment, all mercy, everything that is, unified in a single being who existed before anything else existed and will exist after everything else ceases. The encounter should have destroyed Enoch. No human can see God and live. That's what Moses was told. But Enoch wasn't just human anymore. He had been transformed through 6 heavens of preparation. His consciousness had expanded to contain what no normal mind could hold. His body had been refined through layers of glory until it could stand in the presence of absolute holiness without combusting. And then God spoke. The conversation lasted days, though time worked differently in this place. God revealed secrets about creation, about the structure of reality, about the fall of angels and the corruption of humanity. He showed Enoch the entire timeline of human history, from beginning to end, the rise and fall of civilizations, the coming of the Messiah, the final judgment, the restoration of all things. But more than information, God gave Enoch a commission. He was being sent back. Not to stay in the seventh heaven, as wonderful as it was. Not to remain in the presence of glory. He had work to do on earth. He needed to write down what he had seen. He needed to warn humanity. He needed to prepare them for what was coming. Enoch was shown the judgment of the watchers, the destruction they had caused, the necessity of the flood to cleanse the earth of their corruption. He saw how the Nephilim would be destroyed, how the bloodline would be preserved through Noah, how humanity would be given another chance. He saw the long arc of history bending toward redemption. But he also saw something else. He saw how most people would reject these truths, how his testimony would be suppressed, how future generations would dismiss what he witnessed as myth or metaphor. He saw his book being removed from Scripture, hidden away, preserved only in fragments. He saw the conspiracy to keep this knowledge from the masses. And he saw why. Because once you know what Enoch knew, you can't live the same way. Once you understand that this reality is a temporary stage, that spiritual forces are at war over your soul, that every action is recorded and every choice matters, that judgment is coming and redemption is available, you have to choose. You have to pick a side. You have to live differently. The seventh heaven taught Enoch that ignorance is the greatest form of slavery. Most people sleepwalk through life, completely unaware of the cosmic drama playing out around them. They chase pleasures that don't satisfy, accumulate possessions they can't keep, build kingdoms that will crumble. They waste their brief time on earth pursuing illusions while truth stands ignored at the door, knocking but never forcing entry. But some people wake up. Some people hear the knock and open the door. Some people dare to see what Enoch saw, to know what Enoch knew, to understand what Enoch understood. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. After 60 days in the heavens, Enoch returned to earth. But he came back changed. His face shone with residual glory. His eyes held depth that unsettled those who looked into them. He had seen behind the veil, and the memory of what he witnessed was written in his very bones. God gave him 30 days. 1 month to teach his sons everything he had learned. 1 month to write down the visions and pass them on to future generations. 1 month to warn humanity about what was coming. The urgency in the texts is palpable. Enoch knew his time was limited. He worked day and night, writing, teaching, explaining, trying to compress infinite truths into finite words. He taught about righteous living, about the importance of walking in integrity. He warned about the consequences of sin, how corruption spreads like disease through a population. He explained the calendar, the true system of time that would help people understand when prophetic events would occur. He described the coming flood, the judgment that would reset humanity, the necessity of Noah's Ark. But more than facts and dates, Enoch tried to convey what he had felt in the presence of God. The overwhelming love mixed with terrible justice, the patience stretched across millennia mixed with the certainty of eventual accountability. The invitation to be transformed mixed with the warning about remaining in your current state. His sons listened with a mixture of awe and terror. They understood that their father wasn't the same man who had disappeared 2 months earlier. They sensed that he belonged more to the heavenly realm now than to the earthly one. They knew he wouldn't stay much longer, and they were right. On the final day, after Enoch had passed on everything he could, the angels returned. The transformation that had begun 60 days earlier reached its completion. Enoch ascended permanently, his physical body refined into something that could exist in the heavenly dimensions without need for return. Like Elijah after him, Enoch bypassed death entirely, translated directly into the eternal realm. The texts say he became Metatron, the angel of the presence, the one who sits closest to the throne. From human to angel, from mortal to immortal, from time-bound to eternal. The first human to make that journey. The pattern for what every person is ultimately invited to become. But his writings remained, hidden, suppressed, but never destroyed. The Book of Enoch survived in fragments, in whispers, in the treasured libraries of Ethiopia, where the full text was preserved. The Dead Sea Scrolls confirmed the authenticity of his testimony. The Book of Jude in the New Testament quotes directly from Enoch's prophecies. The evidence is there for those who look. The early church knew about Enoch. They read his book. They understood the significance of his testimony. But when Christianity became institutionalized, when it merged with political power, when it became a tool of control rather than a path of freedom, Enoch's book became dangerous. It gave too much power to individuals. It suggested direct access to divine truth without need for intermediaries. It couldn't be controlled, so it was removed. The Council of Laodicea in 364 CE declared which books were scripture and which were not. Enoch didn't make the cut, not because it was false, but because it was too true. Not because it contradicted scripture, but because it expanded scripture beyond what the authorities wanted people to know. The conspiracy wasn't subtle. It was deliberate suppression of information they believed would destabilize their power. For over 1,000 years, only fragments of Enoch's testimony circulated in the Western world. Most Christians never heard his name beyond that single verse in Genesis. His visions, his warnings, his cosmic revelations, all buried under centuries of enforced forgetting. But truth has a way of resurfacing. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church never forgot. They kept Enoch in their canon, reading his testimony alongside the other scriptures. When Western scholars rediscovered the Book of Enoch in the 18th century, they were shocked by what they found. This wasn't primitive mythology. This was sophisticated cosmology, detailed prophecy, and eyewitness testimony of realms that shouldn't exist according to materialist worldviews. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in 1947, contained multiple copies of the Book of Enoch. The Qumran community, the people who hid these scrolls, clearly valued Enoch's testimony highly. They understood something that modern religion has forgotten. You can't understand the Bible without understanding Enoch. The New Testament makes no sense without the context he provides. Jesus spoke about angels ascending and descending. He referenced the days of Noah. He talked about the Son of Man coming in judgment. All of these concepts trace back to Enoch's testimony. The apostles knew the Book of Enoch. They quoted from it. They built their theology on its foundations. Early Christianity was saturated with Enochian thought, but that knowledge was deliberately erased. The question is, why are they so afraid of you knowing what Enoch saw? The answer is simple. Because Enoch's testimony gives you power. It shows you that the veil between heaven and earth is thinner than you've been taught. It proves that humans can access divine knowledge directly. It demonstrates that your physical limitations are temporary, that your consciousness extends beyond your body, that your potential is far greater than the prison they've built for your mind. Enoch walked with God in his daily life, and that walking led to ascending into God's presence. The path is still there. The invitation hasn't been rescinded. What happened to Enoch is meant to be a template, not an exception. He's showing you what's possible when you refuse to accept the limitations this world places on you. Right now, reading these words, you stand at the same crossroads Enoch faced. You can dismiss this as interesting mythology, file it away as ancient history, and return to your comfortable illusions. Or you can recognize that you're being called to something more. The seven heavens aren't just physical locations Enoch visited once upon a time. They're levels of consciousness, dimensions of reality that exist right now, overlapping with your everyday experience. The first heaven, the atmospheric realm, teaches you that nature is supernatural. The second heaven shows you that evil is real and judgment is coming. The third heaven reveals that death isn't the end. The fourth heaven proves that time is structured and prophecy is encoded. The fifth heaven exposes the spiritual warfare happening all around you. The sixth heaven reminds you that every action matters and nothing is hidden. The seventh heaven shows you where everything begins and ends, in the presence of the one who created it all. You don't need to physically ascend through these realms like Enoch did, but you need to wake up to their existence. You need to live with the awareness that reality has more layers than your physical senses detect. You need to understand that your choices echo through dimensions you can't see, affecting systems you don't understand, building a legacy that will outlast your body. This is why they hid Enoch's story. Because once you truly grasp what he witnessed, you realize that you're not just a biological accident stumbling through a meaningless universe. You're a spiritual being with a specific purpose, living in a carefully orchestrated reality, watched over by angelic forces, under evaluation by divine justice, invited into transformation that transcends death itself. The same God who showed Enoch the heavens is offering to show you truth today. Not through a mystical journey to another dimension, though that's possible if you're prepared for it, but through the daily choice to walk with him, to live in integrity, to question the lies you've been fed, to seek wisdom over comfort, to choose truth over convenience. Enoch's life wasn't characterized by dramatic supernatural experiences until the end. For 365 years, he simply walked with God, daily, consistently, persistently. That walking prepared him for the ascending. The discipline of his everyday life made him capable of handling the revelation when it came. Most people want the revelation without the preparation. They want the experience without the transformation. They want to see what Enoch saw without becoming who Enoch became. But it doesn't work that way. The universe doesn't give revelation to unprepared minds. It would destroy you. This is what makes Enoch's testimony so vital for today. We live in an age that's eerily similar to his time. The same corruption he witnessed is happening now. Perhaps not with literal fallen angels taking human wives, but with humanity once again manipulating genetics, playing God with technology, corrupting the sacred through prideful rebellion. The same violence that filled the earth in his day fills it now. The same deception that blinded people then blinds people now. And just like in Enoch's time, God is looking for witnesses. People who will pay attention, people who will question the narrative, people who will walk differently than the masses around them. People who are preparing themselves for revelation because they understand what's coming. The judgment Enoch saw is still coming. Not yet, but inevitably. The clock he witnessed in the fourth heaven is still ticking. The books in the sixth heaven are still being written. The throne in the seventh heaven is still occupied. Nothing has changed except that we're closer to the end now than we were in Enoch's day. But there's also still time. Time to wake up. Time to change. Time to become who you were always meant to be. Time to walk with God the way Enoch did. Time to prepare yourself for what's coming. The testimony of Enoch isn't just a historical account, it's a mirror. When you read what he saw, you're being shown what you need to see. When you hear his warnings, you're being given the same warnings. When you learn about the heavens he visited, you're being reminded of dimensions that affect your daily life, whether you acknowledge them or not. Your choice is the same choice every generation has faced. Believe the comfortable lie or accept the difficult truth. Remain asleep or wake up. Drift along with the masses or walk a different path. Live for temporary pleasures or build for eternal significance. Enoch chose. He walked with God while everyone around him walked their own way, and that choice changed everything. Not just for him, but for everyone who would later read his testimony and recognize truth when they heard it. You're reading this for a reason. Something in you knows there's more to reality than what you've been told. Something in you resonates with Enoch's story because it awakens memories your soul has always carried. Something in you understands that you weren't born for this shallow existence, this surface-level reality, this sleepwalking through life that our culture calls normal. The heavens Enoch saw are still there. The God he walked with is still available. The transformation he underwent is still possible. The question isn't whether the path exists. The question is whether you'll take the first step.